Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 71. My name is Evan Lewis, and of course I'm joined by Leo Andry.
Here I am.
There he is. And Joe Latovsky.
I'm also here.
There he is. Never mind. I was supposed to not sing anymore. I forgot. My mistake. But what's not a mistake are the humans who decided to become patrons over at patreon.com/thejodocast. These are the finest...
Somebody,
huh?
Like, I'd be impressed if somebody, like, patronized us. That's... I don't think that's what you call it, but by accident.
Well, you just capitalize the P. Then it makes sense.
Oh, okay.
There you go. See? It's all about branding.
Yes, we want you to patronize us.
We do. We want all of the patronizing. Yeah, that's not how that's used. But we really appreciate those people who have joined the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. And we would encourage you to also stop by our Patreon and have a look around. We don't promote it a lot. We thank the patrons every time, but we don't talk about it a lot. So it's if you're wondering what it is, it's kind of like Kickstarter, but kind of not. It's a monthly thing. You don't have to pay a lot to get involved in it. It can be a very, very small amount. A dollar would be amazing, and that helps us keep going. But if you want to find out more about it, there's a lot more that would take a while for me to talk about. But patreon.com/thejodocast is where you can find all of that info. And while we're talking about that, I am going to try something new, and we're going to put some of our housekeeping at the front, because I think people might get to the end of an episode and they're like, okay, well, this is done, and then just turn it off and go to the next one. But we do want people to come to our various outlets, listen to us and talk with us and let us know what they think. So with that, we've mentioned Patreon already. One of the things I want to talk about first is the store over at our website, jodocast.com. We've got our shirts that we've had for a while, but now you can also buy playmats. I couldn't think of the word. Playmats from us. You don't have to go through a lot of extra finagling. You just tell us you want it and you're going to get it. For money, of course, obviously. So get your orders in now, and then by the time Worlds rolls around, you're good to go. Also at the site, and I forgot also the store, alternate art cards that patrons have already received. And then also at the site, we've got a feedback survey. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, your favorite Star Wars things that you want to hear us talk about. We want to hear from you. And if you want to hear us some more, all the usual podcast outlets, we've mentioned them before, all the usual places. You want to talk with us, all the usual social sites, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, kinda. And you can watch us on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. And our Discord is really the place to be throughout the day. You can talk with us and tons of other really cool folks. We really enjoy it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on there all day, every day. And then the website where you can find all these things is jodocast.com. Please come by. Let us know what you think. And I think that was actually a bit more succinct than it usually is. So, not bad.
For the Discord, you usually put a link to our Discord server in the show description, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. So that's how you get there.
Boom. Done. Yeah, we have a really good, solid group over there. There's almost never a time that we don't have a good group of folks over there. And there are patron-exclusive rooms, but the whole Discord itself is not a patron-exclusive, which I think is very cool. I'm glad we went that way. And with that, let's talk about what we've been playing. And we'll start with Joe.
I've been playing Battlefront 2, and that's all you know about that. And
you've been posting Battlefront 2 GIFs.
Yeah, I usually, after a long session, I'll make GIFs of all my clips that I made that night. and share them on our Discord because somebody has to see them. Yeah, well, we're apparently there should be a Battlefront news any day now, but whatever. And I've been playing Imperial Assault. Made a new Imperial Assault video last night. Well, I recorded one, so that's off to the editing factory, and may or may not be up by the time you're listening to this. I think that's it. It's Battlefront Imperial Assault.
How about you, Leo?
Well, I finally got in some Destiny here.
Woohoo!
For the first time I've actually got to play since October, so that was exciting. I still didn't actually get to do any drafting because, when I went to go play here last week, that was actually supposed to be another draft event, but still can't do that, so that sucks. Supposedly, now here, the 15th, so a week from today, Rivals is finally supposed to officially launch, so maybe we'll be able to have some draft events like that weekend, except I'm going to be out of town that weekend, so...
Oh, of course.
Good job, Fantasy Flight.
Always. That's how it always goes.
I got to try out. I tried running Kanan and Qui-Gon deck for the first time, and
that's a lot of blue.
Pretty fun. It is. It was all blue, and made me happy. I didn't run up against Kylo 2.0.
Yeah,
no
like kidding.
That, so, but it worked out pretty well. I didn't have an optimal deck because, there's some stuff I only had one ancient lightsaber and I only had one Jodo lightsaber, and I wanted to double up on both of those, but I couldn't. But I still won half my matches that night. I also discovered I actually only have one Qui-Gon die, so I had to borrow one from somebody, but...
All right. Is that it for you?
How about you?
Oh,
yes,
how about me?
That's it for me. How about you?
Well, I am now the proud owner of both a Luke and a Boba starter of Legacies. Remarkably, my store actually did get more product in. I was kind of shocked. So now I have both of those. So hooray! And I have a Rivals pack, so I can start doing stuff from this block, so it'll be interesting. Although I don't think it's super viable just yet, but we'll see. But I haven't really gotten to play much of anything. I've been playing a lot of Edit the Podcast recently. Although I think the game that I had gotten to play is Star Wars RPG with you guys.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that too.
You did. So that episode's already been released, and if for whatever reason you're listening to this episode and you haven't listened to any of our RPG shows yet, I would highly recommend it. They are a ton of fun. They're hilarious, and the system itself, if you're a person who's curious about non-D&D systems, it works really well. It's a lot of fun, and it can get ridiculous. So you should listen to it.
So what are we going to call the system now? Are we going to call it the Genesis system?
I'm starting to. I'm trying to get people into that habit.
Or are we still going with what we used to call it, narrative dice system?
Yeah, I think that's still what the dice themselves are referred to, even within the context of the Genesis framework. So we could easily just keep calling it that, or we could keep calling it the SWFFG RPG. EOTE.
Let's rotate names every episode for maximum confusion.
We should. That's great. Then we can just put it on a T-shirt. All the different names will go on a T-shirt.
And Helvetica on the...
There you go. SW and FFG and RPG and narrative and Genesis. I can tell Joe is getting excited just by the mere thought of this. He loves them words on shirts.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Sure do.
You sure do.
All of my shirts are covered with words.
Nothing but words. If he could just wear words, he would.
And the few shirts I have that don't, I wear inside out so you can at least see the words on the tags.
Good on you. But that's all I've been playing. Actually, while I am editing, I play something that's a little bit not mind-numbing, but just requires some clicking and not a lot of like brain work, like Overwatch. Paying attention. So I'm finally getting through Baldur's Gate. I am on Chapter 4 of Baldur's Gate for the first time ever, and I'm really enjoying it.
I don't think I ever beat the first one either.
Oh no?
I've beat Baldur's Gate 2 and the expansion, but I've never beat the first one either.
Well, it's certainly a new experience for me because, I'm trying to do things like I do in Dragon Age Origins, and I'm like, why doesn't this game have this thing or that thing? And I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this lack of thing.
Are you playing the enhanced edition?
Yes, I am.
Ah.
It's quite
Did you
fun.
It reminds me, Pillars of Eternity 2 is coming out pretty soon.
I did see that, and I'm just hoping for another Pillars of Eternity 1 sale so I can just grab up all that.
Well, I have the first one. I never beat that one either.
Oh.
I got to this point where there was like this bear in a cave. You didn't even have to go in the cave, okay? It's just like off in the woods off somewhere. And I'm like, this bear's got to be hiding some good treasure. And I tried about 30 times to kill that bear, and I couldn't. And I got so pissed at that bear, I quit playing, and I haven't come back.
That's
even though I can completely bypass him,
yeah,
and continue on with the actual game, I haven't, because that bear, man.
Wow. All right. Well, I hope someday you accomplish your dream of killing that bear. Someday. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday and soon. All right. Well, that's it for me. Baldur's Gate is what I've been playing, everybody. All right. So, moving on to I can't talk tonight. Moving on to the topic of the day. We're going to talk about
Star Wars Legion.
It is Star Wars Legion. What a surprise. Actually,
I'm so excited to talk about Star Wars Legion.
Well, it is your game of the year, your rookie of the year, your most improved game of the year. What else? It was not your dud of the year. Although the fact that it's not out was your dud of the year.
No, the Decipher CCG was game of the year.
Oh, okay. Sorry. How quickly I forget.
We'll see. Maybe Legion will finally be the Star Wars game that will be better than the Decipher CCG.
Oof.
I only said maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
did.
It's got a pretty high bar to clear.
But it has...
I don't...
Yes? More thoughts on CCG.
No, I was going to say, so now I don't remember how much we have even... I don't even think we really have talked about Legion too much on the show yet so far, other than like right after Gen Con when it was announced.
You might be right. I feel like it's at least been about 3 months or so. It could have been more. We have a lot of content that I know we haven't talked about. A lot of articles have come out on the FFG website since last we spoke of it, and I have not been as tuned in to these Legion articles as I know both of you have been. But I know we did talk a bit about the core set relatively a bunch. Maybe not. But I don't know. Just for my benefit, because I'm not, like I said, very in touch with, this one's going with this set and these ones are going here.
No. What
should we be expecting when the game actually launches? And at this point, we're still saying March 22nd, right? Is launch day?
That's what Fantasy Flight has told us, is March 22nd. It looks like the European release date might be March 23rd. At least that's what it says on I think that's what it said the last time I checked, like the Spanish website.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm sure it's just because of. So it's still technically kind of like a simultaneous release, but because of time zones and stuff like that, it's a day later over there.
Yeah, it's pretty close at least.
But anyways, for America here, for sure,
America.
it's March 22nd. Yeah. And that's going to be the core set box, which will have Luke and Vader, 2 units of Rebel Troopers and Stormtroopers, a ATRT, and a pair of speeder bikes. I think I'm not missing anything, am I right? That sounds right.
Did you say Luke and Vader?
Yeah. And then, of course, all the little bits of cardboard and your maneuver template thing and the range finder and blah, blah, blah. That's all going to be in there. And dice. There's always got to be dice because it's Fantasy Flight.
And when you say there's got to be dice, you mean custom exclusive proprietary dice, not, I'm going to go buy a whole big stack of D6s.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically you could buy some D6s and D8s and, I don't know, mark them up yourself or make a chart.
Because that works
like a giant
great.
pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Especially when you can get a dice set for, what are they, like $15 or something like that.
I think they're 10.
10,
but
maybe, yeah.
With this game, because, with like X-Wing, you could buy 1 extra pack and you're good. With Imperial Assault, you buy 1 extra pack and you're good. With RPG, you get 1 extra pack. Armada. This game, you might end up needing like 3 or 4 extra packs of dice, depending. I'd have to look again. But like, if you've got a group of your dudes is shooting and there's, 6 people in that squad and they've got extra different weapon types.
There's, if you've got like the rocket launcher added in there or something like that, you can be rolling a decent amount of dice. But you got to remember, some of those dice are going to be white, some of them are going to be black, and some of them are going to be red dice, so they're not all going to be the same color necessarily also, though, so... Because that's, like, how things are split up. There's black, red, and white dice. And then they all have different... it's sort of like Imperial Assault, how the different colored dice have a little bit different faces on them. And then there's D8s for attack and D6s for defense. I think I got that right, and I didn't flip it around.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, well, with those in the core set, Luke and Vader are the only core set exclusive units, the 2 commanders for the 2 armies. Beyond that, all the other units, they're also going to be released as single expansion packs, along with the T-47 airspeeder, which most people know it as a snow speeder, and then also an ATSD expansion pack for the Imperials. So that's going to be a fair amount of stuff that'll be coming out on here at the end of March. I've got one of everything pre-ordered so far. I'm considering adding a second core set to my pre-order, though.
Yeah, I think that came up on the Discord server just earlier today when someone was wondering about, and I don't have it up in front of me, otherwise I would say so-and-so asked in the Discord, unless we can pull it up really quick, but I'm not going to bother. They were wondering if, because you get Rebel Troopers in both core set and its own expansion pack, if you want to fill out your ranks, is it more cost effective to do that by buying another core set, which you'll be filling out ranks for Stormtroopers again also, or if you're going to focus just on one faction, if you're going to just stick to buying the expansion packs after one core, because we kind of saw the same thing with X-Wing at least, where if you wanted to fill out both sides, you could get, another X-Wing and 2 more TIE fighters just to give you a quick boost to both sides if you didn't want to just focus.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your opinion on what's the best way to do that? What are you going to do? Let's just ask that question.
Well, right now I'm just
and Joe too, of course. This isn't just a Leo and Evan conversation.
Like I said, right now I'm just getting one of everything because there are different between the the Rebel Troopers that you get in the core set versus the Rebel Troopers that come as a separate expansion. Same thing with like the ATRT and Stormtroopers, etc. The upgrades are different, so you get a little bit different upgrades there from core set versus the single. So at some point you're going to want to buy at least one single pack, I think, so you can get those, so you can have those other upgrades as an option to give to some of your units. So that's why to start out with, I got one of everything. I'm kind of leaning now, like my next purchase probably will be another core set, just because to get more units in your army, just getting another core set is the most cost-effective way to do it, really. I mean, because you get all those units, you get more dice, you get another set of the maneuver templates, you get another rangefinder, you get more of the little, more of the little barriers for cover that come with the core set. So I think if you're looking for the most cost-effective way to get a big army, you buy 2 core sets. If you want to have the most variety with the most kind of upgrades and stuff, then you buy the singles.
Is that what you're going for, Joe, or are you going to...
I'm getting a core set and an airspeeder, because airspeeder is the one thing that doesn't come in the core set for the Rebels. And then I think after I played with that enough to see how I feel about Legion and how I see the local community shaping up, then I'll decide how much I want to expand. But getting a second core set and one of each of the expansions does sound the best way to go about it. I'll probably start by just getting one of each of the expansions before I buy a second core set. But I'm
adding
just
another ATRT and another Rebel Trooper expansion.
Right, yeah. And that all depends on just how I feel about the game and how it takes off in town here.
Mm-hmm. How much time you want to spend painting? Because did you say you're down to only like 2 Imperial Assault figures left to paint now?
5. I have 5 left, and they're sitting on my desk right here.
The lights at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But now you're going to have all this other stuff
Ahsoka
to paint.
and Darth Maul are there. Well, I've been trying to figure out how I want to paint my Legion stuff, because I feel like we can have a whole episode on that. Because with Imperial Assault,
we will.
I'll paint it however I want. But Legion, I want them to all be cohesive for each faction, and I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to do it efficiently and all this stuff.
Yeah, like I'm trying to decide, do I want to do like all my Stormtroopers just straight up white? Do I want to do a little bit of like clone trooper style like unit markings on them to kind of differentiate each one of the different units that I have? And same thing with the Rebels. Like, I think I've kind of got a color scheme decided on that I like. But at the same time, there's like so many other color schemes that I like that I can't decide if I want to make like all my Rebel units kind of more cohesive and follow that color scheme, or if I want to have like each unit with its own just totally different color scheme. Like the one I got that I like is actually using like kind of like the orangey yellow and then the green from all the Jodo cast art that we have on the website and stuff like that, and kind of using those 2 and then like some browns for belts and pants and boots and stuff like that, using using those colors for my Rebel Troopers, and I really like the way they've turned out. Kind of when I've been, I just took some of the pictures of the unpainted models and I then digitally painted over top of them in Photoshop just to try out some colors, and I like the way that looks, but I feel like it would be part of the fun with the Rebels is that they had so much variety that I think it'd be fun to just kind of go crazy with lots of different paint schemes with each unit.
Yeah, I want like a gray to be like the unifying color, and then have like, you know, like orange armbands or orange hats or something. But because I think I like gray. There's a lot of, you know, I can give them like light gray or dark gray depending on, you know, they're all going to be different types of gray, but it's still all gray. And that if I prime them all gray, that might mean I can paint it faster because I'm not going to have to try and get in all the little cracks. So I think it's just a matter of what accent color I want to put with the gray if I want to keep that unified, and how I want to base them.
And if you're not a painter, you know, don't necessarily let that dissuade you from the game for two reasons. One, if you don't want to paint it, you don't have to. I know some stuff, like I believe like Games Workshop, I think for all their official events and stuff, don't they have some rules about you have to have your minis painted up to a certain minimum standard?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
So
I think it's like you're supposed to have like at least 2 or 3 colors. So you have to have like, you know, like your base coat and then, you know, something else on them. I don't know. But I don't believe Fantasy Flight's going to do anything like that. As far as I know, Rune Wars, because like Rune Wars is a similar game that Fantasy Flight puts out, and as far as I know, they don't have any rules like that. Like when I watched the stream for Rune Wars from last fall, half the people playing had completely unpainted armies. So
wow, really?
Yeah, a lot of them. It was kind of surprising, and it was the same thing. Like I remember when I was actually at Worlds in person, I was watching like. I was done playing X-Wing, and so I went over to the table where they were playing Dust, and it was like the final match for Dust. I remember being all disappointed because I was like, oh, I'm going to go check out some of these cool paint jobs these guys playing this game have. Nope, it was just 2 unpainted armies fighting each other.
Whoa, that is surprising.
So yeah, so I mean, it's if you don't if you just want to play the game and you don't want to get into the painting part of the hobby, you don't have to. Same thing with like all the terrain building I've been doing. I've been trying to learn a lot, as much as I can, about terrain building and doing that now too. But I mean, if you're just playing at home and stuff, you don't have to do that. You can just slap some books and coffee cans and on the table and call that your terrain. And if you do want to paint, but you've never done it before, you'd be surprised at how easy it is to get at least a passable looking paint job on a mini. You know, you're not gonna come right out of the gates, you know, painting like Sarastro or someone like that, but it really isn't as difficult as most people think to get a halfway decent looking paint job down on your figures.
Especially if most of the guys you're doing have white armor with just some little black highlights.
Yeah, you know what? Painting Stormtroopers, though, has been like the shittiest painting I've had to do so far.
I think I remember you saying that before.
Yeah, it's not fun. The last couple troopers I painted, though, I found a quicker method, so maybe I'll actually end up painting my Legion Stormtroopers, but they definitely don't have priority.
And you might have mentioned it already, and I may just have completely spaced on it, but are the minis, the sculpts that come in the expansion packs, just going to be the same as the sculpts in the core set for like Stormtrooper and Rebel Trooper? Do we have any idea on that? I would guess they would be, but I don't know.
I thought I saw somewhere that they're different, but
Oh, wow.
I didn't actually bother to check on that. I think the speeders and the ATRT is what you're going to want to look at.
I don't know. At least in the pictures for the Rebel Trooper expansion versus the Rebel or versus the core set, they look like they're the same molds to me.
I just said the speeders are the ATRTs.
I'm looking at the ATRT right now, and the positioning of the legs looks, I mean, that's where we're going to see the difference, is the positioning of the legs. Just from two pictures looks a little different, maybe, or it could just be the angle of the shot.
I think they're posable. Like when you get
never mind then.
The ATST is
the
posable.
ATST
So
is.
the ATRT,
I don't know if the ATRT is.
I don't. Maybe.
All right, I'm sure that'll be addressed.
In any case, if it's not explicitly different, you can make it different, and it probably won't be that hard.
It sounds like at least some of it you can do some little bits of modding yourself, not too terribly difficult. From some of the comments from like Sarastro and other people who've actually got to handle the figures unassembled.
I hope every Darth Vader is pink just to do the thing that Battlefront said, well, we don't want a pink Darth Vader. Like, guess what? Now they all pink.
Well, if I get a second core set, I'll have an extra Vader.
Ooh, there you go. So, following the March 22nd release of Wave 1, we have already got some Wave 2 announced, which I don't recall in the past where they've been like, oh yeah, so the stuff that's not even out yet for Wave 1, here's Wave 2. Do you guys remember that ever happening before? I guess.
I don't think so.
I don't remember. Did they do that with X-Wing?
Maybe with Rune Wars they did.
I think with Destiny, didn't they start showing off some stuff from like the next? Didn't they like announce the next set before? Or maybe I'm just thinking of with them showing off like they showed off like here's Thrawn.
Yeah,
but he's not coming out till the third set.
That's what I think you're thinking of, because that's what I'm thinking of, and that was the pre-launch special event. It seems like I vaguely recall seeing the Millennium Falcon in the glass case at the Gen Con where X-Wing actually came out, but it was sort of out. And they were like, here's what's coming next, but none of this is out yet.
Yeah. But yeah, so the stuff they've announced so far is two more commanders for your armies, which is nice because the two commanders that come in the game right now are really expensive.
And what do you mean by expensive?
So basically all your units cost points to add into your army, and a standard game is an army of 800 points. And so, like, Vader is 200 points. So he's a quarter of your army all by himself.
Jeez. Okay.
Leia and Veers, it's kind of hard to tell from the preview images, but I think most people agree that it looks like they both cost 90 points, so less than half of what Vader does. Of course, you also have the option of having them both in because the rules do allow you to have two commanders on the field at one time. So yeah, it's Leia and General Veers, and they both seem pretty cool. Like, I think I'm going to enjoy playing Leia and Veers more than Luke and Vader, personally. Just because they seem more interesting to me, and two, they leave you more room to put other stuff in your army. Especially like if you're playing Empire and you have really expensive units like the ATST, is also almost expensive as Darth Vader. Just a ATST with no extra upgrades or anything like that is 195 points, if I remember. So yeah, two ATSTs is half your army. Throw in Vader also, and that's almost your whole damn army right there.
Yeah, it strikes me as odd. Maybe it doesn't seem that odd to anybody else that we're just going to have the two core set commanders, one for each side at launch. That like just nobody else. Like that's your commander. That's all you get.
Yeah. Well, I mean these sets. So it's gonna be Leia and Veers, like I said, and then 2 more trooper units, snow troopers and the fleet troopers, who are like those were the troopers on the Tantive 4 in A New Hope, and also in Rogue One, I guess.
They were more like victims in Rogue One.
But those four expansion packs are right now scheduled to come out in April. So it should be fairly shortly after the game launches. We will then have 2 more commanders to work with, plus a couple more units. But yeah, I agree. I was really surprised that they didn't announce any additional commanders as part of the first wave. And I'm also surprised here as part of this second wave, there hasn't been that they announced 2 more trooper units, and they still haven't announced any special forces units. So in the game, there's 4 or 5 different types of units you can have. There's your commanders. There's core units, like CORPS, not CORE. And so the core units are like the core of your army, I guess you could say. Because you're supposed to have 3 or more of those in your army, and that's just going to be more like your standard troopers and stuff like that. You've got support units, which are like the ATRTs and the speeder bikes. And then there's heavy units, which are ATST and the snow speeder right now. But there's one more category unit that's going to be called special forces, but there are no special forces units released or announced yet.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what that is. I feel like that's where characters like Chewbacca or Boba Fett would fit, or like snipers, things like that.
Yeah, or like maybe it could be
or
something
just,
like Scar Squadron, like the Scar Squad from
or
the
Inferno Squad.
Or Inferno Squad, or maybe even like some of the characters from Phoenix Squad or something like that.
Just like anything that doesn't fit in any of the other categories is just going to be lumped into special forces. That's kind of how it is at Imperial Assault, because they all have keywords. If you're not really anything, they just call you a smuggler. It's kind of their catch-all keyword now.
And along with miniature previews, they've had a lot of articles covering some of the rules. We're not going to go into every single one of those. We'll certainly have events in the future where we'll maybe get to some nitty-gritty of the individual rules. But were there any that struck a chord with you, either a positive or negative chord? Like, why on earth did they design it that way? Or that's a really cool thing that I wouldn't have thought of.
I'm curious about the suppression mechanics, because I don't remember exactly now, but from reading the article, it seemed oddly punishing.
Yeah, they're not. The suppression mechanics haven't been spelled out real well so far.
It almost struck me like maybe whoever wrote the article goofed. Let me check real quick exactly what it was. It had something to do with... that's what it was. I think it was if you have more suppression than your suppression limit, you have to let your people start to run away. And for a stormtrooper, for example, their value is 1.
Yeah,
and it sounded like it should be, if you've got 5 troops left, your value is 5. So you need to have 5 suppression tokens before your squad starts running away.
Well,
but the way the article wrote it,
to
it's
flee, it's
double
it's
or
double.
something.
Yeah, fleeing, it's double whatever your courage value is.
So if you have a group of 5, you would need 10 before they start chickening out, which sounds like it makes sense. The way the article wrote it, you would need 2, which sounds like not that great, because I think there's even a force power upgrade card that lets you just freely assign 2 suppression to somebody.
Yeah, so if it's so there's,
because it makes sense to me that it should be based on the size of the squad. If there's only one guy left, he's gonna probably flake out, more easily than if there's 6 of them.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, when there's 6 guys, that means to get them to flee, you would need to put 13 suppression tokens on them.
Right, which I think that sounds fine. That it should be not likely. No one's going to have fun if their people are running away all the time. Like, it's my turn. I have to run towards the board edge with this guy because he's terrified. Like, that's not... Like, if there's like one guy left in your squad and Darth Vader's walking towards them, that makes more sense to me that this one guy is going to turn tail and run. Although it still is kind of annoying. It's like, buddy, hang in there. Fight for the cause.
Yeah. That's why, like, I keep hoping that they'll just release the rules so we can end these debates a little bit.
Yeah, I like the thresholds for vehicles. Like they have like 2. They have like their total health, and then like a threshold of when you have this much damage, you get like a random condition, like you lose a weapon or your movement is hurt or something, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like some of like the role playing games and stuff where you take a crit and then you have to check the crit chart to see what sort of bad stuff happens to you. I guess from the articles, I guess for me the articles haven't had a ton of new information in them, just because they're kind of just going over stuff that was already shown in a lot of the demos and stuff like that, and because there's there's a lot of these demo videos of a lot of these demos have been posted on YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff was already known, so I mean, I agree with Joe, like the whole the disabled stuff for vehicles is really cool when you get past their resilience value. One of the articles, I guess, did confirm that people will be able, that you can split fire. Like, that was one thing some people weren't sure about. Like, if a unit, if you want to target, your opponent's ATRT or whatever with your stormtroopers, do all the stormtroopers in your unit have to shoot at that ATRT, or could half of them shoot at the ATRT and half of them shoot at some other unit nearby also? And the answer is yes, you can split the fire, at least, obviously for units with more than one mini in them.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is kind of a weird one. We're going to treat all of this like a compliment sandwich, but it's more like a Dagwoods, because we got good stuff, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff, layers and layers of good stuff, and then you got a weird thing, and then we'll finish with another piece of good stuff. So the weird thing is the pre-order bonus that they're offering. And, when you say pre-order bonus, you usually think about, thank you for coming into GameStop today. Would you like to pre-order this game and get a bonus? And I don't want them to do that, but tell people what this thing is that they're giving away for under weird circumstances and encouraging something else.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
They got... So the thing, if you pre-order from Fantasy Flight's website, you get like these 4 posters that are just really nice photographs of painted Legion miniatures, and it's like, okay, nobody pre-orders from your website because there's websites like Miniature Market and Cool Stuff Inc. where you can get it cheaper, and then there's your local stores that support your community of games, and in their own pre-order language, it says, we encourage you to shop at your local game store, but if you do this, you'll get these things. Which initially was really dumb, because it's like, you're suggesting I shop locally, but also giving me a bonus if I don't. The bonus itself is okay, because it's just cool pictures that almost anyone can live without. If it were like an alternate art card or something like that, that'd be a different story. But apparently stores actually are getting them.
Yeah, it was really unclear, and when they originally announced them, they made it sound like the only way you were going to get them is if you ordered directly from Fantasy Flight.
Yeah. Now, apparently, if a store ordered, like, at least, 20 core sets, Fantasy Flight's giving them the posters to give to people. So, I'll be getting some of the posters, because my store is going to have them, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them.
You're going to frame them and put them on the wall.
I've got a lot of stuff.
We will autograph them and give them out to patrons because they want our autographs, obviously.
But yeah, these
That's
were
like the number one request we get. We're always like, what content do you guys want? Do you need new episodes talking about X-Wing? Do you want more videos? And they're like, we just want autographs. It's weird.
Can you make YouTube videos of you autographing things?
Ooh. Ooh.
God.
I don't know if that'll meet the YouTube guidelines these days. It might be a little too much.
But yeah, like I think from like at least on like the Legion like subreddit and on some of like the Legion discords that I'm in and stuff like that, pretty much everybody when they were first announced was kind of poking fun at these posters, and like everyone was really annoyed because they were like, what the hell, Fantasy Flight, you tell us to order from our local game stores, and then now you're giving us an exclusive pre-order bonus only with you that, like I said, turned out to not really be exclusive, but that's not the way the article was written.
Yeah. I think Joe should take some really nicely taken photos of his Imperial Assault figures. We can make those giveaways.
Give them away as prints.
There you go. I like that idea.
Mine aren't... If I took really nice pictures, they wouldn't look good because there'd be too much detail. Like, I'm not saying my figures are sloppy, but like, I don't think they're like frame worthy.
Not even Wolverine.
Or Santa Claus.
I don't have Santa. That was.
I thought you did that.
I did do that
for somebody.
Yeah, that was
commission.
My one and only commission.
Wow. Maybe we should put that on the store. Joe paints your minis.
You know what?
What?
I mean, if somebody did that, I guess I would.
Yeah.
Depends.
Yeah.
Price listed as to be determined based on what you want me to do.
Just put parentheses, market price. You're like a lobster, Joe. And the last thing that we're going to talk about, which is the most recent piece of news, and it's not unexpected, but it's certainly good to hear about, is organized play. And I haven't read this one. I don't know anything about it, so tell me everything that I should know about organized play.
Well, they announced that they're going to be sending out demo kits to a bunch of stores. Again, I think this is going to be the retailers that, ordered a certain amount of the product or whatever.
Yeah, starting on March 8th.
March 8th, yes. So by then, by March 8th, we should probably have rules. Whether Fantasy Flights put them out or not, people are going to be able to start looking at the rule books and stuff in stores.
Got some launch weekend events.
Yeah, so they said more details on the demos to come on the 12th, February 12th here. So, and then, yeah, like Joe said, launch weekend events.
It sounds a lot like the launch parties for the Destiny waves. I expect there to be some like promo cards here, and maybe like a deck box or something you don't actually want. But what's interesting is you have the opportunity to claim the store for either the Galactic Empire or the Rebel Alliance. Which I've got a feeling that's going to be like when they launched Rebellion and they just asked people to report their plays. So like after launch weekend, they'll probably have like an infographic map showing like which states were claimed by which faction or something.
Yeah. And that same weekend, they're also going to be at Adepticon, which they've got some cool looking events there. They've got a couple different tournaments, and I know I saw they were going to be having like some like painting workshops and stuff like that. So, if you're lucky enough to go to Adepticon, that should be cool. If you're not lucky enough, like us, then I don't know. I guess I'll just be playing it at my store instead. I know, and then they've also just talked about like doing support with organized play kits for just for like weekly in-store events. Again, they're kind of saying like here more details to come. And then of course they're going to be having championship events too, which
interestingly enough, under the championship events is just the regular progression of events that they have for all the other games: store championships, regionals, nationals, worlds. It says these large spirited events offer top level competition as well as a path to Star Wars Legion World Championships. Details to follow in April. They've already outlined the schedule for Worlds this May. Legion is not included. So I wonder if in April they're going to be like, did you notice there's no Legion at Worlds this year? Which makes sense to me. I think this, for the game this size, that's not enough lead time to build up. Like, everyone at Worlds is going to like, I don't know, it seems little too soon to dump people into Worlds, but
yeah. And like I know there's some people who've speculated like, oh well, maybe we'll have Legions at the fall Worlds, but I don't necessarily see that happening. It would be sort of weird for them to have. I mean, about the only way that would maybe happen is if they did Legion this fall and then but then after that they moved it to the May track. But I still figure it's probably just going to wait until next May before we get to have championships.
Plus, this year being the last appearance of the Sainted LCG for Star Wars. I mean, that's what this Worlds is going to be all about, obviously.
Sainted is...
Hold on, let's get some biblical trivia right now.
Oh, jeez. What did I get us into?
It is going to be... the St. Jude of the board game canon.
The children's hospital?
In the holy
they're gonna help the kids.
In the Roman Catholic Church, St. Jude is the patron saint of desperate cases and lost causes.
Oh wow! All right.
There you
go. So one. In the article, though, about the organized play, there was one line in there that I found interesting. And, of course, now I can't find it again in the article. But it said something about, like, come, go to your store and play, however you want, whether it's competitive or And it mentioned something about playing campaign.
I wonder if that's going to be something akin to what they have in Armada. Yeah, the only word time campaign shows up on this page is you can meet with friends for group painting sessions, which, okay, well, a lot of the stores in town have paint meetups, and I don't I want to paint at my desk where I have all my stuff, where I have the Xbox to play Netflix or my podcast, and I can go use my own bathroom when I want. I don't get the appeal of group painting sessions. In any case, experiment with new armies, enjoy campaign play, rally your rebel friends, blah blah blah. What is campaign play? You can't just leave that in there. Is this going to be now what was it even called in Armada? The Carillion Gambit or Conflict or something.
Yeah, Conflict.
They're going to release a little kit with a kind of a Galactic Conquest thing where it's maybe some kind of weird tournament structure where you progress. I'm curious about that. That sounds like it could be cool, but also really time consuming. Because at this point, after coming off of a Jabba's Realm campaign for Imperial Assault, I don't feel like getting involved in something you have to commit to on a weekly, monthly basis. Because I'm already doing the RPG and I'm running a different RPG, so... what is it?
We'll have to wait to find out.
It's probably going to be like L5R, where when they have a story tournament, whoever dies there is dead for the rest of the game. So if Darth Vader dies, no one can use Darth Vader for the rest of the game. It's going to be canon. It's going to be its own form, its own version of Star Wars canon.
The Legion verse?
Yep, Legion canon. The Legionnaires. I don't know.
There's probably already people... That's there's probably a podcast called The Legionnaires already.
It's probably about the Legion of Superheroes.
I don't know. I know there's a Legion podcast called We Are Legion. But I don't think I've heard of one called The Legionnaires.
Well, we better trademark that so we can...
Yeah.
when we eventually split off all the shows into their own separate RSS.
We can... I think we should call it An Entire Legion, because that's literally the only time anyone uses the word Legion in all of the Star Wars movies.
That's true.
It's obviously the most recognizable phrase that has the word Legion in it to Star Wars fans.
An entire legion of podcasters. we do. It's every episode we have about a dozen different guys on, and we're just all talking at the same time
about different things. All right, this week we're going to talk about Legion, Destiny, and Battlefront 2.
All at the same time.
It looks
Everybody
more like
go.
British Parliament than a podcast.
I feel like we should do that once for April Fool's Day. Let's see how many people we can invite on.
Oh my gosh!
Maybe if we meet up with some other guys at Gen Con or Worlds or something like that, just however many we can cram in one room around a microphone, and we all just talk
around one mic.
Those are always the best. Those are always so much fun.
We're gonna print off Robert's Rules of Order and then tear them up,
burn them. And then set off the fire alarms. All right. Do we have anything else to add to the Legion Roundup? I said that like Canadian Roundup. Roundup? Roundup.
No. I'm gonna ask if we have any more to talk about.
A boot. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'm just excited for this.
That was
straight up Minnesotan.
That was pretty Minnesotan.
They're kind of the same.
Yeah, subtle, slight difference in pronunciation.
You just gotta add a little bit more maple syrup to your accent.
Well, hopefully,
then it morphs from Minnesotan to Canadian.
Yeah, we're gonna have some Tim Hortons down here by the time Gen Con rolls around. So.
Oh, we got those.
Yeah,
here in Fargo.
Yeah. Well,
the one.
You know what?
I'm
gonna be straight up here. I don't know if you were actually putting it on or not when you said, "Oh yeah, we got those here in Fargo."
Yeah, I think we're all just sliding right into it.
Some days, it's
Yeah, for sure.
no, but the one company that I do support for, their headquarters is in Montreal. And so the guys from Montreal that come down to visit sometimes, they got very excited when they discovered that we finally have Tim Hortons now in Fargo.
Yeah, I'm the most excited. No one around here understands why. I'm just like, I just want some caribou too. That's all I want, and then I'll be good to go.
Well, caribou is good coffee.
Yeah,
Put little chocolate chips in it.
there you go. That's all you need. They don't have any here. End of story. All right, I think that's also the end of this episode, and I'm glad we're ending this on a high note with no stupid housekeeping. We can just say thanks for tuning in.
We hope you enjoyed listening to How to Talk Minnesota.
That sounds like another episode that we gotta do.
Oh yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, just the whole thing, Have some bars. This is kind of a Minnesota goodbye now. We're just kind of like, okay, so goodbye, and you want some some.
But hey, yeah, sure, but you don't forget.
Oh, you know what I did the other day? I took a tortilla, one of them the Mexican things, and I ate it like a piece of lefse. I thought I would try and capture the bit of the old country, but it wasn't quite the same. No joke.
Did you put some butter on that darn tortilla?
Oh, I put a lot of butter and some sugar, and by golly, while I was making it, I thought,
oh, geez.
Heck, this is not this. It's a lot of butter and sugar, That's not.
That's a good way to ruin your lefse. You don't put no sugar on it. We actually have fights about this at family reunions because the half of our family they put the sugar on their lefse, and the other half no sugar.
You gotta get enough sugar so it crunches between your teeth like sand.
I hate sand. Oh, this is all staying in.